Instagram is throttling small creators' videos. YouTube is finally rolling out communities. X has a way to pay creators while Meta is paying journalists. And LinkedIn just wants us to know that they're still cool and growing. This is the Act 18 Show. Hey, I'm Jason, faith-based entrepreneur and marketing geek. Timestamps and sources below, along with a link to today's sponsor, our funnel launch kit that has our best performing landing pages, sales pages, email sequences, and a full course framework to help you go from idea to sales using 100% free software in just a few days. Now, thank you for bearing with me on the new format here. I'm still traveling through Bangkok, and for whatever reason, my internet has been awful. So we are trying to make this video as small as possible and not take 3.5 hours to upload a 12-minute video to YouTube. So here we go. Story number one, before we get into Instagram and their throttling, we have some awesome YouTube updates. Now, when it comes to YouTube updates this week, we have 4. 2 of them are noteworthy, and the other 2 are just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Not sure why people ask for that. So number 1, YouTube is starting to roll out their new communities feature. So this is essentially turning comments into communities. What this means practically is they will start showing our top commenters, so it'll be easier to know someone who's been commenting quite a bit. The top commenters commenting a lot, duh. But what's nice about this is the larger your channel, of course, the more people you have coming back to it over and over again. So it'll be a lot easier to keep track of those people who are really invested in your content or enjoying it, and not having to, memorize 30 or 40 different profile images or icons of different people. So I think this is pretty cool. What I think is a little silly, though, and counter to the whole push YouTube is doing with their creator communities stance, is that they are adding more AI to replies. So if you are using AI in your replies, just make sure that it actually does sound like you. I think it could wind up hurting more than just not replying at all. And then in number 2 here, we have more AI coming to YouTube, and this one is not cool at all, and that's going to be summaries. So YouTube is going to have AI summarize our videos and put it where the descriptions normally are. Now, the good news is the descriptions will still be there. The bad news is they're going to be put underneath this AI summary that I don't know who wants that. I'm not sure how this is in line with getting people to engage with more content and creators. But needless to say, we have no choice. They're going to start AI summarizing our videos. And unfortunately, this means the description will be even lower. So if you're doing any sort of brand sponsorships or promotions, or you promote your own links like we do, or like I did at the beginning of this episode, then you might really want to make sure that you start using the cards, because at least those on mobile and desktop, it's very easy to click and go off to a website via cards, versus now if you say link in the description, like I like doing, it's going to be buried under a bunch of AI jargon. Now, these next 2, rapid fire. Number 1, Studio Mobile is going to get a change to the content tab. So you'll be able to see all your different content formats in one fell swoop, and then you click more to see more. So I kind of have a before and after here. And then we have AI answers are coming to YouTube support. So makes searching through YouTube support documentation easier. Although getting answers to the questions you really have, like why did you copyright strike my video for the 10th time, probably isn't going to help too much with that. But I guess it's a step in the right direction to getting through all the YouTube and Google documentation that is very, very hard to get through. It's kind of ironic that a search company makes it very hard to go through their documentation for how their products work. Anyway, something that isn't hard is Instagram and their throttling of creators. I had a better way to segue, but we're just going to keep going. Now, Instagram has come out and said, hey, if you've ever felt like your account or your content doesn't look as good as it should, or you're not getting the reach you thought you would, well, you're not crazy. We are throttling you because you're not getting very much reach. So this is kind of like a chicken and the egg thing. But essentially, if your content's not doing well, specifically videos, then the quality is going to be downgraded, which of course I would presume lead to less people engaging, because we all have shiny, $1,500 or even $800 phones, right? Like everyone has full HD on their phone. And so I think this really is a big deal, because you have small creators who are trying to get started, and they're putting all this time and energy into making the best, shiny new video they can, and then Instagram's like 720p or 480 or whatever they decide to downgrade it to. Now, from a business perspective, I understand that they've got like 4 billion, videos being watched a day. So they're trying to save on some server costs, but at the same time, it's just kind of favoring big creators and then making it harder for smaller creators to stand out. And one of the easiest way to stand out is actually filming in 4K or going the extra mile. And on a platform where literally everything is about the quality of the image or how it looks. I mean, we are talking about Instagram here. It kind of doesn't seem fair to smaller creators. And YouTube seems to be able to handle their servers just fine. So maybe Meta and Instagram can learn something from YouTube because you can upload in long videos in 4K, and 720p is what you get when the internet connection's bad, not because you're a small creator. But anyway, I'll get off that soapbox. One more thing when it comes to Meta. Meta has decided to pay readers for their articles. So a couple of weeks after Zuckerberg telling all of us content creators that we overestimate the value of our content in training these big AI models, they are now going to pay a media company for their content. So just as an aside, OpenAI does pay the Wall Street Journal, Atlantic, and another one called the Meredith Group. Yes, I did have to look that up. They own quite a few media properties. So this kind of team up isn't new. It is ironic on two fronts. Number one, it's ironic that we have Meta, who's trying so hard to deliver unbiased news, but I think that ship has sailed. I don't think anyone's going to look at Meta and go, yeah, you guys are definitely straight down the middle and don't go one way or the other. And so even though that ship has sailed, on the second ironic thing, I think looks is on the side of these news agencies, because they're literally getting paid to replace their jobs. I mean, these AI companies are being trained on all of these journalists' work, and then the CEOs of all of these media companies are just waiting for GPT or Meta's Lambda or Llama, I forget what Lambda, and to be able to write the articles instead of the journalists. So it's one of those things like you're being forced to train your potential replacement. Although I will say it is nice to see this, because it means AI really is quite a ways off, that these companies would go through the effort of paying media organizations. Lets us know that we all still have at least a little bit more time before AI completely replaces our ability to write, let alone, make videos like this. And speaking of videos, we have X for our last real story of the day. Now, X is floating the idea of paying content creators who make videos on X, which I think is awesome. It would be cool to have another platform like YouTube where we can share the ad revenue. And oh, wait, that's right. The X Creator Fund is based upon subscriptions and paid out based upon engagement, not sharing ad revenue. Now, for most creators, this is actually positive and a good thing because it is based upon volume, not necessarily value of the audience. However, there are a lot of smaller creators like myself who make money based upon the value of the viewership to advertisers. I'm trying to be as careful as possible with this, versus the sheer volume, right? So I have a content creator friend who's in another niche, more productivity, right? And we would compare how YouTube pays us differently. I would have videos that would get 1/4 of the views, but would get 3 or 4 times the revenue because of the value of the audience, right? So if I make a Google Ads tutorial and only gets a couple thousand views, well, advertisers really want that audience. It's tiny, it's small, but that audience is willing to pay for things like $300 a month software to manage their Facebook or Google ads, right? Versus, productivity, it might be a bunch of college students, it might be a bunch of professionals. Yes, they spend money, but they're not going to spend $300 a month on a software. So advertisers don't want to pay as much for that audience. And so the issue when revenue isn't split based upon advertisers paying for a specific video, all of a sudden smaller creators like myself who don't get large amounts of views but have views that are valuable to advertisers don't have an incentive to make a 2-hour Google Ads tutorial, because I'm going to get paid the same as if I just make a 12-minute, digital nomad video, right? Arguably making the digital nomad video is way more fun than talking about Google Ads for an hour and a half. But it's one of those things where I think that they're going to have to look at potentially bringing back in sharing ad revenue for smaller creators, niche creators like myself, because there are audiences that are worth more to advertisers than others, simply because some of the times those viewers are willing to spend more money on specific types of products or services. I mean, if you go look up any finance channel on YouTube and them sharing their ad rates, you go, oh my gosh, what on earth? And that's because insurance companies, financial companies, they make a lot of revenue per customer, and they really want to target those types of audiences. Now, just a quick mention, wrap up, LinkedIn just wanted us to know that they're still relevant and they're still cool. And they've grown by 9 or 11% over the past quarter. So they're around 300 million active users compared to the next kind of major social media platform up, which would be X at 500 million active users. So they're still not in the big leagues by any means, but they still do have organic reach. So if you've ever been frustrated by trying to post on Facebook, where you pretty much have to pay, or Instagram, which is apparently throttling some of our videos, and it just seems impossible to break through, apparently it's still possible on LinkedIn, and it is a platform that continues to grow. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some value out of this video. Comment below with your questions. We'll be back next week in this format or another one. Just depends on how internet continues to work here. If you had told me that I would have this much internet problems in Bangkok, Thailand, I would have just laughed. But seriously, of all the places we've traveled so far, even remote islands like Boracay in the Philippines, this has been the absolute slowest. I don't know what's going on. So hit that like button, subscribe for more guides just like this one. And until the next, keep building the business you love.